Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second week of the Low Carbon Design Institute Residency 2022. I'm extremely pleased to be able to have just fantastic people join us from Veolia, UK. We had this chat last year really about waste, and I really wanted to do well, eventually we will really do a site visit, but COVID has meant that that's been kind of both more complicated, but also easier to have a chat with the team in a way that is virtual and where everyone's comfortable, and perhaps even the smell of the space is not as overpowering, because I have walked past waste facilities or waste management facilities in London in my various travels, and it's really quite something. So I think we're kind of sparing ourselves an element here of the visit. But I will let you both introduce yourselves and the team that you're coming from. And again, want to thank you so much for taking the time to give us a virtual visit of a waste facility in the south of London, which is really kind of very close to where I live. So I'll stop sharing now and hand over to you.
Yeah, of course. Quick question: where do you live?
I'm in Tulse Hill, so I'm on the train line to Southwark, to the Southwark Waste Facility. I go past it all the time because I go past Millwall almost all the time. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you're our neighbour. Nice to meet you. And yes, thank you so much for letting us tag on to this. The residency program you've got is very inspiring. So yeah, it's an honour to be included in this. We are the Education, Communication and Outreach team, short for, we call ourselves the ECO team. Sounds great, doesn't it? And we work within the Borough of Southwark. So we work on behalf of Southwark Council. The part of our incredible contract here is that we have this very unique site, which is the Southwark Integrated Waste Management Facility. And we're going to be showing you a tour of our materials recovery facility. So that's the site that deals with all of the recycling. And just to kind of realise expectations, we are not the people who do all the technical stuff. We are the people who talk about it. So if there's any questions at the end that I might not have the expertise for, we might not know the answers to, we're going to take them down and we'll get back to you with all of the experts' opinions on them. So yes, we're just going to talk to you about our general tour. So are you okay to start presenting?
Shall we start? Yeah.
So we always love starting with a photo of our site because it just shows how unique our location is. As you can see, we're right in the middle of London here. You can see the city just in the distance. You've got the Shard. You know, very proud to host that in our very own borough of Southwark. And on the left-hand side, you can just see the straight line. That is the Old Kent Road, very famous road. And what makes us unique is this location, because sometimes you have your recovery facilities or any kind of facility that deals with waste tend to be far away from people because, as you mentioned, Alex, that they can get rather stinky. Part of our role is to do odour monitoring, which we literally just walk around the streets and smell the air to see how bad we smell that day. And that is what makes it quite tricky. We have to deal with a lot of permit restrictions in terms of what we can and cannot do. As you can see, our site is all enclosed, it's all indoors, and that, you know, kind of helps our neighbours basically. And yeah, this is our site. We just love showing it off basically. So carrying on, this is our borough. So like I said, we work on behalf of Southwark Council to work across the borough with residents, businesses, schools, all types of community groups. And it is a very diverse borough, as many London boroughs are. But at the top, we've got our very touristy, commercial side of the borough. You've got Tate Modern is here. We've got obviously London Bridge, Tower Bridge, the London City Hall is within our very own boundaries. And like I said before, the Shard. And then as you move down, what we like to call the tooth of Southwark, we've got very socially and economically diverse residents. So we've got a lot of social housing, got one of the biggest proportions of social housing across, well, definitely across London, but I think we're the third highest social housing area district in England. So we've got a lot of residents in communal properties, high rises, and that poses all kinds of tasks and tricky things we have to deal with in terms of people not having their own bins and sharing and just all the things that comes with that, and trying to encourage residents to recycle as much as possible. And as you go to the bottom of the tooth, we've got a very leafy, very posh Dulwich. And again, you've got residents there who have their own bins, and there's a lot more impetus over kind of looking after their recycling, and we have very good recycling rates there as well. And again, that's more curbside property. So yes, we've got a lot of challenges, but also it makes it very interesting day to day. And then if we haven't skipped a slide, have we? No. Oh no, sorry. So yes, again, going back to our site, this is what makes our contract with Southwark Council particularly unique as well. When we built this site, it was part of Veolia's first and only ever PFI, which is a private finance initiative. And it was the last one of the Labour government. And this started in 2008. And we put in £64 million investment into this site. Basically, that locked us into a 25-year contract with Southwark. A lot of other local councils, they have different contracts. In Lambeth, it used to be 7 years and we had to repitch. Westminster, they give Veolia 2 years and they have to basically every year they're writing a new pitch for like, please take us on again. We've locked Southwark in for 25 years, so we're not leaving until 2033. Obviously, we're hoping we'll keep going now that we've been working with them for so long. But this just gives us loads of time, basically. And that £64 million investment, that gives us time to kind of make that money back. And we just had our 10-year anniversary from basically when the collection started in 2012, when the very first vehicle came over our weighbridge. And that is when we started technically operating. And then this is where we send our black bag waste. So we show off where Selship is. It's also a Veolia managed site. And it was part of our contract when we built this site on a brown site to put some money into Selship as well. So that is South East London Combined Heat and Power. And that is the energy recovery facility. So it's separate from the recycling side of things, which we will go into a lot more detail later. It's where we send things that we can't recycle. And it goes just down the road. We like to show how close we are, because again, that's reducing carbon emissions. We are just sending it down the road. It's less than 2 miles. And that goes to incineration for energy capture. So again, closing the loop, using that energy to power and heat homes, which I believe is our next slide, to talk about what that means, basically. So yes, again, it was part of our contract when we built this site. We had to put £7 million into Selship as well. And that was to lay this orange line. This is the heating and energy district network. Basically, the site existed, but that part of it didn't. So they wanted us to help make that a reality. We now supply over 2,800 homes with the energy captured from incineration. These homes are supplied with their own heat and power, and it's a third more efficient at maximum heat capacity. And again, it's kind of using that circular economy model of closing that gap of, recovering as much as we can from the process. And yeah, we're saving about 8,000 tons of CO2 every year. And what that means in terms of our site, like in terms of things coming in and out, whereas we do work on behalf of Southwark Council, our site here caters to a much wider audience than that. So as you can see, we get recycling from across London and further out as well, like Southend-on-Sea. And we get organics from Lambeth, our next door neighbour. And what that means is they're bringing all of their borough recycling into us. And then our outputs, like I said, Selship, solid fuel, however, most of our refuse is our own. That is mostly coming from Southwark. And then we've got things like plastic bottles and milk bottles going to Rainham and Dagenham. So Rainham, again, Veolia, that is a plastics recovery facility. So they sort plastics only, whereas we sort mixed recycling. And at Rainham, they then send anything that's a milk bottle to Dagenham, where they make milk bottles. So they basically are just keeping that circular loop going over and over and over again, and supplying enough milk bottles to cater to all of London, as in they cover everyone's milk habits in the city. And then last but not least, St Helens is glass. Because we don't separate glass here by colour, we can't recycle it straight back into glass. It goes to fibre insulation. And sorry, I missed Padworth for organic waste. So again, that's just outside of London, and that's where we'd send all of our food and garden waste. And I've touched on this a little bit. So the glass bottles, again, that's going into insulation. Like I said, we can't sort by colour yet. That is something that we're looking into. Plastic and milk bottles, again, they're fully recycled. We are just keeping those going. And the food and garden waste, that is, again, like I said, compost, and that is we send to an in-vessel composter, and that means we can turn it back into soil conditioner, which can be used on ground again to grow more food. So just a little bit about what we do here. Again, we're catering to all of Southwark's residents with our reuse and recycling centre, and in there is a reuse drop-off area, so that's where we can take things that people want to donate or just get rid of. Basically, they don't necessarily have to go in the bin. So we have things for furniture, electricals, batteries, you name it, we've got a bay for it somewhere here. We also work with community repaint, and that is again because paint can't go down the drain, so to encourage residents as much as possible not to do that, we have these bays where you can bring unused paint and someone else can just come and pick it up. I even did it myself. I was painting a bookshelf and I went in and grabbed some paint. And we also work with the Sustainability Fund. So that's another project where we work with community groups. And this is basically just to donate funds to anything that's looking to improve local environment or community. And again, this happens across Veolia contracts. So I'm working with a team in Birmingham at the moment, and we all basically work together to try and fund as many projects as possible. And then local jobs. So this is my beloved Ray, one of our drivers. He lives in Southwark as well. He lives on Brandon Estate. I'm not sure if anyone knows that is quite an infamous estate. It's even got its own Henry Moore sculpture. And he collects recycling from his own estate. And we always advertise locally first. We also advertise in our own site. So we've literally just today, I found out that someone who works in our materials recovery facility is coming to work over in the office in the facilities team. So we like to kind of keep everyone moving and options as much as possible, and also promoting within Southwark, like I said, because we've got Ray working on his own estate, and it just kind of adds to that. If it's your home, you're probably more likely to invest in it and care about it. And yes, obviously we do promote much wider, but we focus locally first. And the last little bit about biodiversity. So I mentioned that this site was a brown site, and when we built it, part of our contract again was we had to ensure we were encouraging biodiversity. We did that lots of different ways. One of them was planting 100 trees and 10,000 shrubs, and it's always something that people mention whenever they walk on site. I don't know how many people have been to Old Kent Road, but it's very industrial and it's very grey, a lot of pollution. And the minute you walk into our site, they're, oh, this is very green. And that's something we're very proud of. We have a lot of foxes who live here as well, which is very cute to watch them. Obviously, they're here for the rubbish. That's what they really want. But got a lot of rats too. We've also got bird and bat boxes and bug towers. We've got 17 beehives dotted around site. We've got our very own beekeeper, and he makes Old Kent honey. And this is something that we donate, or we take donations for, to give to our partner, which is Groundworks. Again, Groundworks works across community groups to deliver gardening projects. And we also have solar panels on our roofs, which we use that electricity to kind of power the office. We've got a green roof. We've got all kinds of things. And this is something that we're actually in the process of expanding. So it's the next stage of it, what we've done already and how we can make it even bigger and better. And I think this is last but not least, this is just our boast basically about being a flagship. So like we're here talking to you about it today, we are one of Veolia's flagships because again, in a very unique location, in the middle of London, the Royals are only down the road, so they love popping in every now and then. We've had Prince Charles, he was here for the opening. We had Princess Anne, she was here just last year, and she came, it was unfortunately just before our time, but she came to thank all of our frontline staff and to just congratulate them on all the work they've been doing over COVID, because it's a very tough job, as many jobs were. We also had Hugh Fernley-Whittingstall. He's been on a bit of a green hype at the moment, so he came to talk about recycling. And we've had DEFRA very recently. We've had a French ambassador. Everyone loves to come and see the site. It's very interesting. We've been on the BBC. We've had green influencers on Instagram. Everyone wants to come and see how recycling is sorted. So yeah, that's just a little brag at the end.
Yeah, so now we are going to have a virtual tour of our facility called MRF, and MRF stands for Materials Recovery Facility. And this facility separates and sort all the recyclings collected from London Borough, many other London boroughs and Southwark, and all those household recycling waste, they come to our facility. And once they get sorted and the materials get sent to manufacturers to be transformed into something new. So are you ready to see the journey of recycling? Yeah. And first, oh, sorry. Our collection vehicles first arrive at the weighbridge to measure the weight of the entire collected recyclings in the vehicle. And then they go to the tipping hall to empty all those materials into the facility. And you can see the vehicle is parking and unloading all those big pile of materials. Then the yellow plants shovel the materials into the machine called bag splitter to open up all those plastic bags, because many people put their recyclings in a plastic bag and tie it up. And then the materials then travel up the conveyor belt and go into the pre-sort cabin. And in this video, we can't see the pre-sort cabin, but before anything goes into the further sorting process, it goes through this first line of defense, and our hand-picking staff pick out all those items that can damage the machinery, and such as, for instance, excessive plastic bags and electric device, batteries, large sharp metals, or pots and pans, and etc., etc. And especially batteries, they are very dangerous because it can cause fires within the plant. And those items should not have been in the household recycling bins, but often those wrong items arrive in the facility. So our hand-picking staff, they remove them from this flow. And then the sorting process starts, and this sorting process is called disc screens, and this sorts the materials by size. And disc screen consists of 3 different sets, and the first set sorts cardboard, and then the rest fall through the gap of their discs, and the second set sorts smaller mixed papers, and then the third set sorts the glass. And let's see how it works. So the materials drop onto the disc screens, and you can see the disc is rotating very fast, and you can see the newspaper and the cardboard is traveling over the disc screens, and the rest of materials falls through the between the gaps. And let's see the video once more. And in the video, the machine looks so clean. But in reality, if you actually visit the facility, you can see lots of plastic bags and textiles. They got wrapped up around the disc screens. So the machines have to be stopped at least 3 times a day, so that our operatives can jump into the machine and cut off all those filled up plastic bags and textiles. Then we start to sort by material types, and the machine we are going to watch is called TyTech, and it fine-tunes the materials you programmed, and by using optical sorting and air jets. Oh, sorry. So the laser scans and detects the materials passing on the conveyor belt, and the air jets blow off any wrong items from this flow. Then this Titan machine is adaptable, and so they can be programmed to different materials that you want them to detect. So in SODAC, we have many different Titan machines, but still, again, the plastic bags and films, they still get through in the machine. And because those plastic films and bags, they are easily get caught by the air jets. And also, especially during the paper sorting process, they behave like paper. So often they get mixed up. So despite all those advanced technologies, we need hand sorting process for the final quality control. And because no machinery can replace a human's eyes and hands. So our hand-picking staff are sorting all the materials, that is the last bits of materials. And for instance, the spoiled cardboard and papers and plastic bags, etc. And they ensure all those assorted materials are of the highest quality. And as you can see, this job can be much more pleasant if we make sure what we put in our recycling bins is always clean and dry. This machine is called eddy current, and it separates any non-ferrous metals, mainly aluminum. And you can see the aluminum cans are jumping like salmons. And this machine creates electromagnetic current, and this current repels any non-ferrous metals. And this process works really well, but when we see the exit line of this eddy current, when we often find pet food pouches, because those pouches contain aluminium as well. So again, our hand-picking staff remove all those wrong items from it. And aluminiums are only 1% of all of our inputs to the MRF. But however, this is by far the most value of materials, because the price is about £1,000 per tons. So the purity is essential. And this machine is called overband magnet. And you can see the magnet band is rotating over and over again to attract ferrous metals, mainly steels. And yeah, you can see the steel cans are attracted. And once the materials get sorted into a single type, they are loaded into a baling machine. And the baling machine compacts the materials into cubes. And you can see the cubed materials. And in SODAC, we produce approximately 400 cubes every day. And those materials then sent to the manufacturers, and then they get transformed into something new materials. So this is the virtual tour of our facility of MRF, the Materials Recovery Facility. And I hope this tour would help you to design, to inspire your design in a more recyclable